above all, a team that brings the entire Bay Area together.
Curry, one step in front of the logo. A right-hand slam on a little elevation sensation.
This is Warriors Live on 95.7. The Game.
All right, Merry Christmas, everyone. A happy holiday to all. Evan Giddings with you live at the Chase Center for Warriors, Lakers, Steph, LeBron on Christmas Day. It's become an NBA tradition like no other. Really a Warriors and a Curry versus LeBron tradition like no other. This is the fourth time that these two players have faced each other on Christmas Day, the 53rd all-time meeting between Curry and LeBron, and an opportunity, again, for, I think, the Warriors to try and put an end to a month of hell in terms of December. Again, they lose on Monday to the Pacers. They have won 3 games in their last 13 tries, and they'll take on a Lakers team that is also kind of in a similar place, which is right now in the mix for, well, I would say, right now, the Western Conference is a race between 5 through 12. I think that the top 4 in the conference have kind of solidified themselves as far as Oklahoma City, Houston, Memphis, Dallas, Denver might have a case as well. But the next sort of 7 or 6 teams include the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, who right now are in 8th place after the loss on Monday, just behind the Lakers, as well as Minnesota, and then Phoenix, San Antonio, if you want to throw them in there. Sacramento has been struggling, but the Warriors are right now in the mix. They're in the midst of that play-in range and kind of are trying to figure out how they can get out to eventually earn what I believe is possible still, but has been looking a bit strange as of late based on how they've played. A top 6 seed in the Western Conference, a very good Western Conference. So another important game tonight for the Golden State Warriors. It's a 5 o'clock tip-off right here on 95.7 The Game. Tim Roy will get you for the remainder of your network pregame beginning at 4:30. Again, my name is Evan Giddings with you here at Chase Center. And I think that, look, this game is obviously one that the Warriors want to win. They're still trying to figure out how to implement Dennis Schroeder. I think they're still trying to figure out what Jonathan Kuminga's role is. I think they're still trying to jockey between whether or not playing Draymond more at the 5 or whether they want to prioritize him at the 4. But let's be honest. This is a Christmas Day game that is all about Steph and it's all about LeBron. And the great Whitley Sandretto actually posted, I thought, a pretty picturesque and appropriate video to kind of symbolize the relationship between those two guys, with LeBron coming out of the tunnel. It's up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, all the rest. LeBron comes out of the tunnel and immediately goes to try and block Steph Curry's shot before he gets into his own warm-ups. They embrace, they smile, they laugh before they prepare to go to war. Again, for the 4th time on Christmas Day, a relationship that goes back all the way to birth, seemingly, with those two guys being born at the same hospital in Akron, Ohio. Little did they know, of course, at the beginning of their lives, that they would basically represent what this era of basketball has become in the NBA. And that's something to me that is, you can't escape it. When you think of this time in the NBA, from effectively 2014-15 up until whatever this becomes, and really maybe even we look at the 24 season, this season as being one of the last because of what those two did this summer along with Kevin Durant and a lot of other great players. Steve Kerr is the head coach of Team USA. Curry and LeBron have owned this league for the better part of a decade, and they are, as Steve Kerr put it, the flag bearers for this generation of basketball. And I thought it was interesting that Steph Curry sat down with Malika Andrews of ESPN a couple of days ago, and right before this, of course, goes out to air, was released on social media, had a chance to view it. And Curry kind of talked about the mortality of his career, but also his relationship with LeBron. And to me, that's the most interesting and fascinating part of this game here today. It's, obviously they're playing on Christmas. They played each other 52 times before now. It's one of the greatest rivalries in the history of sports. Curry also debunked a couple of theories, most notably the fact that he's probably never going to play with LeBron again. I think that was asked to him directly by Malika. And then the other part of it, too, and this has been something we've talked about over the last week, and I think has come to more of a head with, the maximized Steph crowd, the urgency for Steph crowd, but also Curry right now averaging less than 22 points per game, him shooting 35% from three-point range in 8 games in December, and kind of not having over the last, I would say, 8 months, going back all the way to February, not having a great sort of end to last season and beginning to, I would say the month of December and late November. Basically, how much longer can he continue to do it? He was asked about it, and he said he's thought about the end of his career more than ever before. The words came out of his mouth, the end is near. But he also said that the more you talk about it and acknowledge it, it levels up the urgency. And so that's where this, again, the common theme, the thread of right now is how can the Warriors maximize what's left of Steph and however much of him, whether that's basketball or his career or him playing at a high level, what is that? There's so many questions that surround 30 as his career begins to wind down. And there's also a lot of questions about his opponent tonight with the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's LeBron James. LeBron James is 40, and LeBron has recently taken some time off to himself to kind of get himself recharged. He's played much better with the Lakers as of late, and this is a team that's won 3 of 4, 4 of 6, but they've beaten opponents like Portland. They've beaten opponents like Sacramento twice. They did have a nice win against Memphis at home 4 days ago, in which Anthony Davis, who has been the running mate for LeBron for the better part of a half decade, dropped 40 and 16. He's still playing at a very high level, but LeBron James doesn't have a lot of basketball left. He's asking himself the same questions that Steph Curry is. And one of the phrases that was brought up during Kerr's pregame presser, I thought kind of put it into perspective for me. Competitive stamina. How much competitive stamina do both Steph Curry and LeBron James still have in their career? Because it was asked by a Lakers beat writer, and that's something that has been a recurring theme for their season. Like they start out hot, they start out 10-4, and then they go through a stretch in which they lose 7 of 9 games. And J.J. Redick, their new head coach this season, is blowing up at reporters. They had obviously the beginning of the season, whether you consider it a great story or a sideshow. Bronny James playing alongside his father. I saw Bronny courtside right before I walked up here to do the pregame show. He's here tonight. He's at Chase Center. He's spending Christmas with his dad as his dad prepares to perform in front of the nation and the world like he generally does on Christmas Day. So, the Lakers have had a lot of storylines and not having to do with basketball. I think now the Warriors are starting to deal with some of those same questions because of Steph. And it's because he hasn't played particularly well. It's also because the Warriors are 15-13 and they're in 8th place in the West. And it feels in many ways like they're in kind of the same place they were last year, which is a roller coaster ride. They had the peak of the beginning of the season, and now over the last 13 games, they've dealt with some of those valleys. And there were questions pregame about, okay, well, are people guarding Steph more difficult than ever? How much attention is being able to take away from him? Steve Kerr did acknowledge the fact that a better surrounding cast in the past has made it easier for Curry to operate, especially in the offensive end. But he also kind of recognized the fact that, look, Steph is 36, and he's faced all of these things before. But sometimes your body doesn't allow you to overcome them the way that it used to. And he said, Steph's not 25 anymore. Being 36 means that getting face guarded or getting double teamed or having more of a stout on-ball defender on it, like those are things that are going to bother him more than ever. And so this idea of how the Warriors can give him help, I think right now lies internally. And we can talk about the roster construction and all the rest, but right now what they got to do tonight is try to win a basketball game against the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think that someone like Andrew Wiggins has been a great secondary option offensively alongside Steph. And there was actually a beautiful piece written about him and the passing of his father, Mitchell Wiggins, which happened over the course of this summer and has actually been ongoing for a couple of seasons. That was written by Marcus Thompson and John Krasinski, one of the Timberwolves beat writers for The Athletic. And it's a great story, but I would suggest you go read it. It doesn't have to do much with the Warriors and the way they've been playing. It has to do with Wiggins, his relationship, and maybe some of the reasons for his absences over the couple seasons of past. But Wiggins has been a number 2 option for the Warriors offensively. Jonathan Kuminga looks like he's beginning to step into somewhat of a more prominent scoring role, but his role has also been a topic of conversation because it feels like he's been jerked back and forth. And I think in order to steady the waters, in order to kind of right the ship and answer all of these questions that I just threw out, the Warriors have to win basketball games. When you lose, this is what Kerr was talking about. When you lose, you have to throw everything at the wall and see if it sticks. And usually it's an overreaction, but when you're losing, you got to try and figure things out. You have to try different things, and the Warriors, I think, have. I mean, they've had 18 different starting lineups in their first now 28 games. A big part of that is to do with the Melton injury. It is to do with the Schroeder acquisition at when trade season opened up. But it's also because it's out of desperation. It's out of need. And it is out of the urgency that I mentioned Curry talking about in regards to how to maximize his career. You know, Curry acknowledged also during his sit-down with ESPN's Malika Andrews that he, along with Draymond, are not in their primes anymore. And he said, quote, "If you're not winning, how do we make this happen? I want to win desperately. What's the answer? We're trying to figure that out." The Warriors are trying to figure out that question of Steph wanting to win desperately, but also maybe not having the kind of production with himself that he used to. How do they make this work? It's a very difficult task, and the Warriors right now, they don't have anybody feeling sorry for them. They're trying to figure out how to make this thing go, and it's amidst probably one of the worst stretches of their last, I would say, 2 or 3 seasons. Even 2 seasons ago when they won 44 games. They did not have these kinds of ridiculously long, borderline month and a half stretches in which they were losing 80% of their games. That's kind of what they're facing now. And if they lose tonight to the Lakers, I hate to break it to you, they got a tough Phoenix team coming to town with likely a healthy Kevin Durant on Saturday. If they lose that game, the Warriors have essentially flip-flopped the first half of this part of their season, which is starting 12-3, and then the last 15 games going 3-12. So if they lose tonight, again, it sort of continues, it persists, and we're going to have all these questions on Warriors wrap-up after the game, but it's something that the Warriors just sort of have to face, and it's due to an aging Curry and aging Draymond, opposite a team, I think, in a similar place with similar questions in the Los Angeles Lakers with an aging LeBron James. That'll bring us to tonight's injury report, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. So for the L.A. Lakers, Anthony Davis, questionable tonight. I saw him warming up before I headed up here. Honestly, he looked pretty good. I think that Anthony Davis is going to go tonight. LeBron James also listed on the injury report. I do not expect him to not play in this game, just again, based on the way that he came out of the tunnel, the way that he seemed to have energy for a juicy matchup with one of his favorite friends in Steph Curry, and in front of a national audience. I expect LeBron James to give it a go tonight. D'Angelo Russell, didn't get an update on him, but he's questionable with a left thumb sprain. And then Jared Vanderbilt, who's been out for much of the season for the Warriors, Jackson Hayes, Jalen Hood, Shafino, are all out for the Los Angeles Lakers, as well as Christian Wood, who has missed so far the entire season, will continue to. For Golden State, this is a team that right now, and I just want to make sure I get this correct because Anthony Slater was asking Steve Kerr about it before the game, the injury availability of Kyle Anderson as well as Gary Payton II. Trace Jackson-Davis is going to start at center tonight against the Lakers, but Gary Payton II as well as Kyle Anderson, both questionable right now for this basketball game. GP2 was out on Monday. Anderson was as well. Kyle's been dealing with an illness, and then GP2 has been dealing with a left calf contusion. So a couple of potential rotation pieces out for the Warriors. I expect that the Lakers, again, based on the players that they've had for the bulk of this season, I expect them to be at relative full strength. And it's going to be a matchup again between Curry and LeBron and two of the flag bearers for the game. Speaking of which, I don't know, Cam, if we have this cut, but I asked Steve Kerr before the game about what it was like to coach both of those two players over the course of this summer, and just if he kind of has reflected on, I don't know, whether it was special, whether it was kind of a seminal moment in his career, whether it was something that he has looked back on as he prepares to watch these two guys basically go to their respective sidelines where they usually are. This is the 54th meeting, between Curry and LeBron, the fourth Christmas Day game that they have played. But what was it like to coach them and coach them together? They played for the first time together over the summer on Team USA, and he was the head coach. Here's what he had to say.
It was the thrill of a lifetime, honestly, and I've been lucky enough to have a lot of thrills in my basketball career. But watching those two guys, watching the way they led, the way they prepared, behind the scenes. It was just beautiful to watch, and then the way they collaborated within that dynamic. There's such a mutual respect between the two of them. So I think there was the fact that they finally got to play together was such a thrill for them, and so that in turn, turned into a joy for all of us to witness it. Yeah, two of the all-time greats. The two, I would say, main kind of flag bearers for the league in this generation. It's pretty awesome to watch them and to coach them.
And that was Steve Kerr again pregame talking about what it was like to coach Curry and LeBron on Team USA. And I think that with listening to Steph talk about the fact that those two players will probably not ever play it together again, sometimes you're watching history in real time and things that you don't necessarily expect to just be lost to the past. But that experience for Kerr on Team USA, you could kind of hear it in his voice. Like, we're never going to see anything like that again. The odds that LeBron and Steph get to another Olympics is pretty slim to none. And the likelihood that they play together to end their careers, whether it's in Golden State or God forbid, Curry going to Los Angeles or wherever else to follow LeBron, all of those things are probably not on the table. So like what we watched this summer in Paris is something that we will never see again. And I, for one, feel very grateful that we got to watch that. We got to have that experience. It obviously resulted in a gold that resulted in one of the most sensational and historic Olympic final performances by Steph Curry, in the history of international basketball. It doesn't mean that those things can continue to happen all the time. It means that we were lucky enough to witness them. And honestly, that's what makes those moments so special. So that's kind of what I got listening to Kerr, is if he's never going to see that again. And the fact that he got to be the head coach for those two guys at that particular time in their careers is something that he's always going to cherish, and like you mentioned, was the thrill of a lifetime. This is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity at Home or on the go. You'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. It's time for our Ticket to the Bank prediction, brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises. Evan Giddings here with you at Chase Center before the Warriors take on the Lakers at 5 o'clock. Tim Roy's got you with the rest of your network pregame in about 10 minutes before he and Tom Tolbert have the play-by-play action for you, all again on 95.7 The Game. But I think tonight it's got to be a Curry night, and his over-under total right now tonight is pretty low because of what he unfortunately has not been able to do offensively consistently over the last 10 games. He's averaging less than 22 points on less than 40% shooting. I think it's a clear hammer Curry's over game, and I think it's only 21.5 points. I would gladly take that if I was a gambling man, because I think that Curry's got something in store. He's generally someone who is known as a showman, but in my opinion is the greatest entertainer of his generation, and along with maybe the second best entertainer of his generation, LeBron James, I think he's got something for his good friend tonight, and he's got something for Warriors fans, because they also frankly need a win. And wrapped in kind of the present that is Steph versus LeBron is the fact that both of these teams are relatively desperate to climb their way out of particular ruts. The Lakers have been doing that more frequently lately than the Warriors, having won 3 of 4 and 4 of 6. But the Warriors are toiling. They're reeling right now. And so I think Curry's got a big performance for them tonight. As far as our out-of-town game of the night, presented by San Francisco International Airport, wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. I think the NBA has done a fantastic job of putting together great matchups, and it looks like there's a few teams that have put a bunch of other big boys on notice. The New York Knicks won earlier today in three-point fashion, despite a 42-18 performance from Victor Wembanyama. The Minnesota Timberwolves in a Western Conference Finals rematch from last year beat the Dallas Mavericks. They were up pretty big in that game. If not for a late fourth-quarter Mavericks run, that would have been a 20-burger that the Timberwolves handed Dallas. And then right now, actually, the Celtics are losing to the Philadelphia 76ers, who appear to be at full health for the first time this season, with Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George, the way that they envisioned it when they put together that trio this summer. 76ers are up on the Celtics, and it looks like they're going to win that basketball game. But later tonight, there's also a good one. KD versus Jokic. Nuggets at Phoenix. And the Nuggets have been playing good basketball as of late. The Suns have not. They're a 500 team. So is Denver going to be a team that can drop the Suns below 500? Jokic, in my opinion, is the best player in the world right now. And that, to me, is the matchup that everybody should be looking forward to after, of course, the Warriors host the Lakers. But again, I think this is another game that I would suggest everybody tune in for, whether you're listening to Tim Roy, whether you're watching on television. Just sit back and enjoy. That's what, number one, the holidays are all about. That's what Christmas is all about. It's time to, crack open a pop or grab your favorite soda. Just lay back, enjoy family, enjoy presents, enjoy the company, and enjoy the kinds of performances that these players are capable of putting on, the performances that Curry and LeBron are capable of putting on. Because, as I mentioned about Team USA, there's not a lot of them left. And the fact that we get to and have seen these two players do what they've done over the better part of 15-plus years against each other, it's absolutely miraculous, it's magnificent, and it's something that I don't think we're ever going to see again. So the two flag bearers of the NBA for the better part of the last decade, beginning when they met in the NBA Finals in 2014-15, that's something that, again, I hope is on display tonight. And I hope both the players are able to summon that level that has made us fall in love with them over the course of their NBA careers. But that'll do it for this edition of Warriors Live. My name is Evan Giddings. I'll talk to you after the game on Warriors Wrap-Up, after the Warriors take on the Los Angeles Lakers. You've been listening to Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you get the fastest internet to all your devices. Coming up next, Tim Roy, and then Tim, along with Tom Tolbert, have your play-by-play action at 5 o'clock when the Warriors host the Lakers, all right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game.